Bookies, today we're going to go over what I would recommend from my February TBR. So let's get started. Now, I do have to say a quick apology to editing Paige. This is going to be very ebook heavy because I mostly read ebooks in February. I read a total of 22 books. A lot of them were really good, but a lot of them, again, were on ebook. So I do have 2 physical books I'm going to show you, but then the rest of them are just going to be fake books posted in one of the corners of the screen. Sorry. The first book I'm going to recommend is The Mary Shelley Club by Goldy Moldavasky. I recommend this for anyone that is a horror fan. This has a lot of classic horror tropes and talks a lot about horror movies. This is such a good book. And the beginning of it is like a horror film. The main character is a victim of a home invasion that she survives by killing one of the home invaders. And thus her journey begins there when she, after she finds someone that's acting sketchy and like staring at her, and she follows him and gets wrapped up in their little club called the Mary Shelley Club that does pranks on people at the school. But when the pranks start turning violent and deadly, that's where the main character has to decide where to draw the line. It is such a good book. I believe I gave this 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. I can't remember. But such a good book. And I can't recommend this enough. And also to the author, if she is ever watching, I don't expect her to, but just in case, where's book 2? And then the last of the physical books that I have. I told you I didn't read that many physical books in February. It is Every Variable of Us by Charles A. Bush. This is a wonderful YA contemporary book. This is about this girl right here. She is a basketball player at her high school, but when she gets caught up in a gang shooting and gets hurt in the leg, which ruins her basketball career, she has to think of other ways to, because she's trying to get out of her neighborhood and to go on to somewhere else. She meets a girl. You know, it is a sapphic romance. It is a very, very sweet book. You will cry. I'm just warning you. And what I really, really liked about this is that how much diversity is in this book. And I really, really like that the author also had a sensitivity reader for an autism character that's in the book. Sensitivity readers are very awesome. I highly recommend them if you're writing a book. And this book is an absolute masterpiece. It's 5 out of 5 for me. Alright, now we're getting out the phone because we are about to go through some ebooks. And not that they will always be ebooks. I've just not had the time and or the money to go and pick up, you know, the physical copies, but I do want them. The first one I'm going to recommend is Ramona and Julieta, which is by Alana, Quintana, Albertson. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm not entirely sure, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But it is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in Barrio Logan, with 2 adult main characters. It is an adult romance book. The female, she is a short order cook at her family-owned restaurant in Barrio Logan. And when the Romeo character, the male character, comes in with his family, they buy the neighborhood and they are wanting to gentrify it. So there's a lot that goes into it, like racism and gentrification of neighborhoods and all of that stuff. It's a very, very sweet book. The romance is really, really good, but the story behind it is where the story shines. The next one I'm going to recommend is Horror Hotel by, I always mix up their names, so let me grab my phone. Victoria Fulton and Faith McClaren. I think my phone cut it off. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm so sorry. This is, again, a horror book because you know, when Paige is supposed to read romance books in February, she goes for horror instead. I don't know. But I read this book. It was so good. I absolutely loved Horror Hotel. It has like a multi-POV narrative. So there are 4 narratives in it. But it revolves around this group of friends that have a YouTube channel, and they are ghost hunters. and they go around and they hunt ghosts at these haunted locations. One of them is clairvoyance, I believe is what it is. She can see ghosts, basically. She's like that kid from The Sixth Sense. She can see ghosts, she can interact with them. When they decide to go to this hotel that I swear is modeled after the Cecil Hotel. When they decide to go to this hotel that has had a lot of hauntings, but also a lot of death related to it, and it is still open, they start to uncover things that might not necessarily be due to the hauntings. It is a really, really good read. I couldn't put it down. I think I read it in like an hour and a half. It was so good. I highly recommend that one. The next one I'm going to highly recommend is You Truly Assumed by Laila Sabreen. This is a wonderful story about, it's a YA contemporary, about 3 Muslim teens and how they react to the after events of when someone who is not even Muslim goes into a train and commits a terrorist attack on, you know. They all 3 come together to start a blog to speak about how they are feeling about the Islamophobia that is going on in their own separate communities. They are all spread out across the U.S., but people being racist people, you know, have a problem with that. So it's about them dealing with it and then dealing with the trolls and learning how to cope in the aftermath, and then finding their own personal strength to deal with their own specific issues within their community. Like one is dealing with their father's racist boss, who is heading this charity organization that she volunteers for, and he is very, very racist towards her, Islamophobic towards her. It's very, very touching. You're going to cry. So highly recommend that one. The next one I'm going to recommend is a graphic novel book. It is also YA. Yeah, well, it's also YA. It is called Across the Field of Starlight. It is such a wonderful book about these 2 people who meet on this planet. It's set in the time when people are planet hopping. There is some sort of background event that is going on, dealing with this faction and this other faction that are fighting. But the main character, one of the main characters, is just a part of this traveling group of researchers that are just researching the galaxy. They do not want a part of the fighting whatsoever. They are Switzerland. And when one of the main, when the researcher main character meets one of the other main characters, who will be one of the main characters of the book, and he is part of the rebel faction, they start this really, really good friendship and this really, really deep bond with each other through pen paling between their adventures. The book sort of picks up when they meet for the first time again in the after a specific event happens with the rebel MC, and they are dealing with the aftermath of that and deciding what to do. Fantastic read, fantastic graphic novel. The illustrations are absolutely amazing. And if you're looking to get into graphic novels and you're into sci-fi, this one would be a really, really good one. And it also has a lot of LGBTQ themes. The next book I'm going to recommend is Lemon Drop Falls by Heather Clark. This book is about a young girl who witnesses the death of her mother. And they are all dealing with the aftermath. She is the oldest of 3 siblings, so she is left to take care of them during the summer. And she is starting to get things together when her father suddenly announces that he wants to go on a family camping trip to also try to reset the family from the events that happened, to prepare all of them for school that's coming up. It is a middle grade contemporary, but it impacts you so hard. It deals with anxiety and grief, lots of grief, depression. There was anxiety attacks and panic attacks in there, and it speaks so well about mental health and so therapy positive. And the way that it ends is really, really sweet. I highly recommend that one, especially if you know a younger child that is going through the same. Next book I'm going to recommend is I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson. This is an adult romance. in between two gay black men. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. The book follows our MC, who is dealing with the breakup of his ex. They were together for a few years, and then the ex suddenly broke it off with him, and so he's kind of left in the after, wondering what he does with his life, when all of a sudden his ex comes back into his life and says, I need you to do a favor for me and pretend that we're still dating for my parents. So that starts off them off on a whirlwind adventure in fake dating. So if you're looking for a second chance in fake dating romance, this is going to be it. And the last book that I'm going to recommend is A Brush of Love by Mazey Eddings. This was the last book I read for February. I squeezed it right in the nick of time, and I'm so glad I did, because this is such a good book. It's an adult romance involving two students in dentistry school who are looking to get into, well, one is looking to get into residency, the other one is kind of just fulfilling a family obligation. When they meet accidentally, it starts them on a romance, but it goes a lot into mental health, especially our female MC, because it's told in dual POV format. Especially our female MC, she has anxiety, she has, I think it's CPST, I'm not sure, I'll put the acronym above and what it is, but she has chronic pain that she is dealing with, especially after the death of her mother from so young. She's still dealing with that. And the other MC is also dealing with the death of his father, but he had a very different relationship with his father. It's a very fascinating read, and it's also a medical romance because it goes a lot into dentistry, and the author is a dentist herself. So it's really cool. Maybe not if you have a dentist phobia, but it didn't really go into that much detail. But caution, there is some stuff from dentistry in there. Alright, and that is it for what I would recommend from my February TBR. That was a good amount of books. There was a lot of good books that I read in February, and I could just go on because February was a pretty good reading month, even though I didn't read a lot of it. But yeah, tell me what is one of your favorite recommendations from me down below, or if you have something from your February TBR that you would recommend to me. So thank you guys for watching. See you again. Bye.